"You've been getting disability payments for years." My grandpa said it in front of everyone. I froze. I said, "What do you mean?" The auditor revealed 10 years of deposits. And my parents turned ghost white. Grandpa slammed his hand on the table and yelled, "Anything to say?" Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. My name is Mia, and for most of my life, I thought the reason I struggled financially was simply because I wasn't good enough, smart enough, or lucky enough. I grew up believing I was a burden, a weight on my parents' shoulders, someone they tolerated out of obligation. They never said it directly, but every sigh, every dismissive comment, every time they told me they couldn't help me financially, even with small things, reinforced that belief. But I had no idea that behind all of that guilt, behind all of that emotional manipulation, there was a secret they had kept for 10 long years, a secret worth tens of thousands of dollars, a secret they never intended for me to find out. And it all came out because of one single question my grandpa asked at a family dinner. But before I take you to that night, the night everything exploded, you need to understand how all of this started. I grew up in Indiana, in a quiet town where everybody knew everybody, but nobody really knew anyone. My parents were strict, but not in a protective way, more like controlling. From a young age, they monitored everything: where I went, who I talked to, what I spent. I always thought they were just overprotective. Now I know better. When I was 13, I had an accident. A car sideswiped my bike while I was riding home from school. I fractured my hip, tore some ligaments in my knee, and spent months in physical therapy. I recovered, slowly. Painful, yes. But eventually I walked, worked, and lived like a normal person. I didn't even think about it anymore. But apparently my parents did. The accident had made me eligible for a disability assistance program, temporary, not permanent. The kind of thing that pays out for a few years while you recover. I had no idea it even existed. My parents handled everything. Paperwork, letters, medical reports, everything went directly to them. So I never questioned anything. They told me our family was struggling. They told me we couldn't afford extras. They told me I needed to be grateful for what I had. I believed them. And because I believed them, I worked 2 part-time jobs throughout high school. I saved every penny. I paid for my own things: my clothes, my books, my phone. They never gave me birthday money, holiday gifts, or help with school trips. They always said, "We just don't have the money, Mia." And I accepted that. Because what else could I do? I loved them. I trusted them. They were my parents. But then, when I turned 22, I started noticing things. Tiny cracks in their perfect facade of "we're broke." My mom suddenly bought a new iPhone, top of the line. My dad upgraded his truck, cash. They started eating out more, traveling a bit, living comfortably. Meanwhile, I was scraping together rent, working extra shifts, and skipping meals some days. Whenever I asked how they could afford things, they brushed me off. "Oh, we saved up. We found a good deal. Don't worry about it, Mia." But something always felt off. Still, I pushed that feeling down. You don't accuse your own parents of lying. You don't think your own family would take advantage of you. You don't imagine they could ever betray you like that. Until the day the letter arrived. It showed up in my mailbox by accident. A thick envelope stamped with the name of a federal disability auditor. My name written across the front. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. I hadn't applied for anything. I hadn't filed any claim. I hadn't asked for a single benefit in years. But when I opened the letter, my entire world shifted. According to the auditor, my disability case file had been under review for 10 years. Payments had been issued every month. 10 years. Over $68,000 in total. To me. Except I never saw a dime. The letter stated there was inconsistency in fund usage, third-party banking activity, and a request for beneficiary confirmation. It also mentioned an upcoming closure of the case due to recovery of full physical mobility, which made sense. I hadn't needed assistance in years. But the question that haunted me was simple. Where did the money go? I sat on my bed, holding that letter, my hands shaking so violently I could barely keep the paper still. I felt cold, dizzy, like the room had tilted sideways. This couldn't be real. My parents couldn't have done this, right? I didn't confront them immediately. I didn't know how. I was scared, scared of the answer, scared of the truth, scared of destroying whatever I believed was left of our family. But Grandpa was the kind of man who didn't let lies survive in his presence. So when the next family dinner came around and I walked in with that envelope in my purse, everything changed. Grandpa noticed my face the moment I sat down. "You okay, sweetheart?" he whispered. I shouldn't have shown him the letter. But I did. His eyebrows shot up. His jaw clenched. And he asked the question that would burn everything to the ground. Right there, in front of everyone. "You've been getting disability payments for years. And my life would never be the same again." The moment Grandpa's voice echoed through the dining room, everything, and I mean everything, went silent. Forks stopped midair, chairs froze, conversations died instantly. My parents sat directly across from me, and I watched the color drain from their faces like they'd seen a ghost. My mom's lips parted, but no sound came out. My dad's hands shook slightly under the table. And Grandpa? He stared at them with a fury I had never seen in him before. What are you talking about?" my mom finally stammered. Her voice was thin, shaky. Grandpa wasn't buying it. He held up the letter I'd shown him earlier, the auditor's report, the one addressed to me. He slapped it onto the table. "This," he said sharply, "this says Mia has been receiving disability payments for 10 years. 10 years. And somehow, she never saw a cent. So, I'm asking again. Anything you two want to say?" My heart raced. I could feel every pair of eyes in the room turn to look at me. My cousins. My aunts. My uncles. No one even pretended to look away. I swallowed hard. I felt exposed, vulnerable, but also strangely relieved that someone else was confronting them for me. Because I knew if it were just me, they would have found a way to twist everything, like they always did. My dad leaned back in his chair, trying to regain control. "This is ridiculous," he said, forcing a chuckle. "There must be some mistake." I looked at him directly. "Dad, it's my name on the letter. My case number. My medical records. There's no mistake." He flinched. Just a little. But I saw it. My mom reached for the envelope with shaking fingers. "Let me see that again," she insisted. Grandpa pulled it away. "You've seen it," he said coldly. "You just didn't expect her to." That sentence sank into the room like a drop of ink into water, spreading silently, staining everything. My mom's jaw clenched. "We handled everything for her when she was hurt," she snapped. "We took care of her. We did everything for her. She has no idea how hard it was on us." There it was. The guilt card. Their favorite weapon. I took a deep breath. "Mom, recovery lasted 2 years, not 10. And the payments were supposed to help me start my life, not fund yours." Her face twisted. "How dare you accuse us? How dare you steal from her?" Grandpa shot back. Everyone jumped slightly at his volume. Grandpa was calm 99% of the time, the wise, gentle family anchor. But right then he was a storm. My dad finally spoke again. "Look, the money wasn't that much." $68,000. I interrupted, my voice breaking. "That's not much. That's my rent, my college, my car, my life." I couldn't hold back tears. They spilled down my cheeks before I could stop them. But I kept talking because if I didn't say it now, I never would. "I worked 2 jobs, skipped meals, sold things I loved while you were buying new phones, upgrading your truck, taking vacations." My mom tried to speak, but nothing came out. My dad folded his arms defensively. "We used that money on the family." Grandpa snapped. "On the family or on yourselves?" Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. I wiped my face, trying to steady my voice. "Why didn't you tell me? Why hide it? Why keep taking it even after I got better?" My mom finally cracked. She slammed her hand on the table. "Because you owe us. Do you have any idea how much time and money we spent on you after your accident? Physical therapy, gas, doctor's visits. You think that was free? Grandpa shot back instantly. That's what insurance covered. That's what the initial assistance was for. But this, 10 years of payments, this was greed. Her eyes flashed with anger. We deserved something.
No, y whisperat.
You robbed me. Saying it out loud felt like ripping open a wound that had been festering for years. My parents glared at me like I'd betrayed them. But all I had done was find out the truth. My aunt spoke softly from the end of the table. Is this really true? You kept her money? My mom looked at her, then at everyone, realizing the room was no longer on her side. She tried to salvage it. We were going to tell her eventually, she muttered. When? I asked. When I'm 40. 50? When you needed a new car? Her expression hardened. You're being dramatic. No, Grandpa said, standing up slowly. She's being honest. Something you two haven't been for 10 years. My dad stood up too, anger radiating off him. This is a family matter, Dad, he said sharply. Stay out of it. Grandpa took one single step toward him. I am family, he growled. And I will not sit by while my granddaughter gets robbed. My dad's jaw locked. For a moment, I genuinely thought he'd yell back. But something in Grandpa's eyes, something fierce and unyielding, made him step back. Grandpa placed a hand on my shoulder. Mia, sweetheart, he said gently, you're not going back home with them after this. My heart stopped. My parents' eyes widened in panic. And for the first time in my life, someone chose me. I wish I could tell you that after that dinner, things settled down. That we had a calm, respectful conversation. That my parents apologized, explained themselves, and made things right. But that didn't happen. What happened instead
Was war.
Right after Grandpa said I wasn't going home with them, my mom's chair screeched violently across the floor as she shot to her feet. What do you mean she's not going home with us? She lives with us, she shouted, pointing at me like I was a piece of furniture they owned. Grandpa didn't even flinch. Not anymore. My dad stepped in, anger flaring in his eyes. You don't get to decide that, Dad. You're just making things worse. Grandpa's voice was calm, dangerously calm.
No.
You did that when you spent 10 years stealing from your own daughter. My dad's fists clenched at his sides. My mom looked like she was ready to explode. This is ridiculous, she snapped. It's family money. She wouldn't have needed it. We used it for us, for all of us. All of us. I shot back. Because I don't remember a single time in 10 years that I got a birthday gift, or help with school, or even a ride that wasn't followed by a guilt trip. My mom rolled her eyes. You exaggerate everything. I felt my blood boil. I worked double shifts while you were out buying new stuff. You lied to me for years. And you're still not sorry. Because we didn't do anything wrong, she screamed. That was it. That sentence broke something inside me. Because in that moment I realized they didn't just lie. They genuinely believed what they did was justified. Grandpa stepped forward. You're not taking her home. And if you try to force it, I'll call the police and let them handle the fraud part. My parents froze. I had never seen my dad afraid before. But in that moment he was. The word fraud hit him like a punch. Because deep down, he knew exactly what they'd done. My mom grabbed his arm, whispering harshly into his ear. I couldn't make out the words, but the panic was clear on her face. She wasn't angry anymore. She was scared. After a long moment, my dad finally spoke, voice low and tight.
Fine.
Let her stay with you tonight. We'll discuss this later. Grandpa shook his head. This isn't temporary. My mom snapped. You're poisoning her against us. Grandpa scoffed. You poisoned yourselves the moment you cashed checks that didn't belong to you. I couldn't sit there anymore. My chest felt heavy, my face hot, my heart pounding like it was going to break right out of my ribs. I stood up, grabbed my coat, and walked out of the dining room. Behind me, everyone started talking at once. Whispers, questions, arguments, gasps. I could hear my cousin saying, I can't believe they did that to her. My aunt whispered, $68,000? Oh my God. But I didn't want sympathy. I didn't want pity. I just wanted to breathe. Outside, the air was cold, but it felt like freedom.
Fresh. Clean.
Clearer than anything I'd felt in years. Grandpa followed me out a few minutes later. He placed his coat over my shoulders. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I shook my head. You didn't do anything wrong.
He sighed.
I should have noticed earlier. I should have asked questions. I thought they were helping you heal, not helping themselves. My throat tightened. I can't believe they never told me. I can't believe they let me struggle. Grandpa's voice went soft, broken even. I can. That hurt. Because hearing someone else say it made it real. He motioned toward his truck. Come on. You're staying at my place. I got in silently, staring out the window. The drive felt long, even though it was only 15 minutes. My brain wouldn't stop spinning. Every memory, every moment of the last 10 years, that all looked different now. Like someone had taken a highlighter and revealed the hidden meaning behind everything. All the times they told me to be grateful. All the times they said they couldn't afford anything for me. All the times they reminded me how expensive my recovery had been. None of it was love. It was leverage. When we got to Grandpa's house, he made me tea, something he always did when I was upset. I sat at his dining table, the warmth of the mug seeping into my cold fingers. Tomorrow, Grandpa said firmly, we're going to the bank. My heart skipped. Why? To get the statements. To confirm the total. And to find out which accounts the money went into. The thought made my stomach twist. You think there's more? Grandpa looked at me sadly. People who steal rarely stop at one thing. I stared at him, the truth settling in harder than ever. My parents hadn't just made a mistake. They had built an entire lifestyle on deception, on using my name, my identity, my pain, and they had planned to get away with it forever. I leaned back in the chair, tears blurring my vision. What do I do, Grandpa? I whispered. How do I even begin to fight them? He reached across the table, placing his hand gently over mine. You don't fight alone, he said. You have me, and trust me, this isn't over. And I knew then, tomorrow was going to change everything. The next morning, everything felt heavier, my limbs, my thoughts, even the air. I barely slept, replaying every moment from the night before, every lie my parents had told, every time they had watched me struggle and said nothing. But there was no going back now. When Grandpa knocked on my bedroom door, he wasn't just my grandfather. He felt like the only real family I had left. Ready? He asked softly.
No.
I wasn't, but I nodded anyway.
Yeah.
We drove to the bank in silence. The kind of silence that isn't empty, it's loaded, tense, like a storm building pressure before it hits. When we walked inside, the teller recognized Grandpa immediately. He'd been banking there for decades. Mornin', Mr. Holloway, she said pleasantly. Then she looked at me. And you must be Mia. Her smile stung a little. She didn't know that my entire world had collapsed less than 24 hours ago. Grandpa cleared his throat. We need access to her disability, deposit records, and the linked accounts. Her smile faded into professionalism. Of course. One moment. As we waited, my hands trembled. Grandpa noticed. You okay? He whispered. I let out a shaky breath.
No.
But I want the truth. And I did, even if it tore me apart. The teller returned and led us into a small office, handing a folder across the desk. Here are the statements you requested. If you need additional documentation, just let me know. Grandpa thanked her, closed the office door, and handed the folder to me. My heart pounded as I opened it. Page after page after page. Every deposit. Every transfer. Every withdrawal. 10 years. Every single month. Deposits. $565 to $680, depending on the cycle. Withdrawals. Same day. Not by me, but by Mom, I whispered. My voice cracked. Her name showed up again and again. Her handwriting. Her digital signature. And then I saw it. A secondary account number linked to the withdrawals. My stomach twisted. What is this account? Grandpa leaned in. His jaw tightened. That's a personal account. Not joint. Not shared. Whose? I whispered. Even though I already knew. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The statement listed it clearly. My mother's full name. I stared at the pages as the reality burned through me like acid. She hadn't used the money to help the family. She hadn't used it for bills or medical expenses, or anything she could justify with a guilty conscience. She had funneled it into her own private account. Vacations, shopping, dining, new electronics, cosmetics, even subscriptions. All of it paid with my disability money. I felt sick. Grandpa picked up the folder, his voice trembling with controlled fury. It's worse than I thought. I swallowed the lump in my throat. She really did this to me. He nodded. She did. A wave of emotion rushed over me. Anger, betrayal, confusion, heartbreak, all pushing against each other inside my chest. My legs felt weak. For a moment, I thought I might collapse. But Grandpa steadied me.
Come on.
We're not done yet. Next stop, City Hall. I didn't know why we were going there, but Grandpa marched through the doors with purpose. He requested public property records. When the clerk handed over a file, he took one look at it and exhaled sharply. What is it? I asked nervously. He turned the papers toward me. A property deed. A small vacation cabin 2 towns over. Purchased 4 years ago. Buyer, my dad. Co-owner, my mom. Down payment, $12,000. Source of funds, the same private account tied to the disability withdrawals. My vision blurred. I felt lightheaded, like the floor was tilting. They bought a cabin, I whispered. They bought a whole cabin with my money. Grandpa clenched his fists. They used you to build a second life for themselves. I shook my head. I can't believe this. But I could, because every puzzle piece fit too perfectly. My dad's sudden overtime shifts. My mom's insistence we couldn't afford my college applications. Their new furniture, vacations, upgrades, all of it had been funded by me. By money meant to help me heal and build my future. My future, not theirs. Grandpa placed the documents back into the folder. We're going to confront them, he said. But this time with proof. I wanted to be brave. I wanted to be strong. But my voice trembled. What if they deny everything again? He looked at me with fierce determination. They won't be able to. Not after this. Hours later, the confrontation happened not at their house, not at some dramatic family dinner, but on their front lawn. Grandpa parked in the driveway, slammed the truck door shut, and marched right up to the porch. I followed him, clutching the documents to my chest. My mom opened the door and froze when she saw us. My dad stepped behind her, wary. Grandpa didn't waste time. You owe your daughter an explanation, he said, holding up the folder. A real one. My mom crossed her arms. We told you. No. I cut in, stepping forward. This time, you're going to tell the truth. I opened the folder and dropped the bank statements on their doorstep. Pages fluttered like the truth spilling out. My mom's face went pale. My dad's eyes widened. The cabin deed followed. Receipts. Transfers. Signatures. Every lie they had ever told laid bare on the concrete. Grandpa spoke again, his voice a low thunder. You didn't just steal. You built a life with her money. My dad stepped back. You can't prove.
Yes, we
can. And for the first time ever, my parents looked scared. Truly, deeply scared. Because they finally realized, this time, they weren't getting away with it. My parents stood frozen on the porch, the documents scattered across their feet like fallen leaves exposing every rotten truth they had buried. The silence was thick, crushing, impossible to escape. My dad opened his mouth as if to deny it all again, but Grandpa raised a hand, firm, authoritative, unshakable. Don't, he warned. Not another lie. Not another excuse. My mom's jaw trembled. She looked down at the papers, her own signature printed dozens of times, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I saw something break inside her. She wasn't angry. She wasn't defensive. She was terrified. "Mia," she said quietly, we were going to put some of it back. Eventually. The words hit me like cold water. Some of it. Not all. Not even soon. Just. Eventually. "You watched me struggle," I whispered. "You watched me skip school. You watched me sell my laptop. You watched me cry after double shifts. And you said nothing." My dad stepped forward. "We did what we had to do for the family." "No," I said, finally finding my strength. "You did what was convenient for you. You didn't care what I went through. You just cared what I could give you." His face hardened. "You're overreacting. It wasn't easy to raise a disabled kid." My voice cracked. I wasn't disabled anymore. I got better. And you kept taking. They didn't respond. Grandpa stepped beside me. "We're going to the police. And the disability office. Today." My mom panicked instantly. "You can't do that. Mia, please, you'll ruin us."
Certes her.
Ruin them? What about the 10 years they had stolen from me? The decade of opportunities, dreams, and chances I lost? The life I was supposed to build but never could? My dad reached for my arm. "Sweetheart, we're still your parents." I stepped back. "No," I said quietly. "Parents protect their children. They don't exploit them." He swallowed hard. My mom started crying, not the guilty kind, but the self-pitying kind. The kind meant to manipulate.
I didn't fall for it this time.
Grandpa held out his hand to me. "Let's go." And for the first time in my life, I turned my back on my parents without guilt. The next hours blurred into one long, exhausting process. Reports, statements, copies of documents, interviews. The fraud investigator listened carefully, flipping through the files, his brow tightening as each page revealed more betrayal. At one point, he looked up at me and said, "This is serious. You understand that, right?" I nodded. "Yes."
He turned to Grandpa.
"You did the right thing bringing this in. The pattern is long-term and intentional." Long-term. Intentional. 2 words that summed up 10 years of my life. When we left the office, I felt hollow, like someone had carved out everything inside me and replaced it with numbness. But beneath the numbness was something else too. Relief. For the first time in years, I didn't feel trapped. Grandpa took me out for lunch afterward. Something simple, quiet, comforting. I barely tasted the food, but it felt good to be somewhere peaceful after the storm. "You're safe now," Grandpa said softly. "You're not going back there." I nodded slowly. "I know." He reached across the table and covered my hand with his. "I'm proud of you." The words hit me harder than anything else that day. I didn't realize how badly I needed to hear them until they filled the empty spaces inside me. Over the next several weeks, everything changed. My parents tried calling at first, voicemails, texts, begging messages, angry messages, then more begging. I didn't answer any of them. Then came the silence. They shut down when they realized they couldn't manipulate me anymore. The investigation continued quietly in the background. I didn't need revenge in the form of yelling or screaming. I didn't need to humiliate them or prove anything to anyone. The truth itself was enough. Documents don't lie. Numbers don't lie. Signatures don't lie. And sooner or later, consequences come for everyone. One evening, while I was sitting on Grandpa's porch watching the sunset, he stepped outside carrying 2 mugs of hot chocolate. "You know," he said as he sat beside me, "you're stronger than you think." I smiled weakly. "I don't feel strong." "That's exactly why you are," he said. "Strength isn't loud. It's quiet. It's standing up when you're shaking. It's telling the truth when it hurts. It's choosing yourself when others don't." I looked out at the fading sun, letting his words settle over me. He was right. I had spent so many years being lied to, controlled, manipulated, told I was expensive, told I was a burden, told I wasn't owed anything. I let them make me feel small. But not anymore. "I'm going to rebuild my life," I said softly. Grandpa smiled. and I'll help you every step of the way. It wasn't the revenge people imagine. No dramatic courtroom scene, no public explosion, no shouted confessions. My revenge was quieter. I walked away. I healed. I built a life without them. And the people who used me lost the one thing they never expected to lose.
Me.
Because sometimes the ultimate revenge is finally choosing yourself. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to Revenge Files, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.